The Authority Circle, as featured in Belonging Again, on how it's rational not to trust authorities that we require to be rationally informed. The first premise: we require institutions, experts, and authorities. As evidence, see the 27 December 1946 letter entry by George Orwell. Also, there's a short story called Ludwig by O.G. Rose. 2. Institutions, experts, and authorities sometimes take advantage of people, make mistakes, and the like. See the opioid crisis, Gulf of Tonkin, the Tuskegee Syphilis study, the Replication crisis, and so on. 3. It can be rational to distrust the institutions, experts, and authorities we require to be rational, but it is rarely clear when we should distrust them and which, seeing as we probably need the institutions, experts, and authorities to help us figure this out, which puts us in a vicious, circular problem. I will call this the Authority Circle, hinting at Heidegger's Hermeneutic Circle, and it's a kind of Nash Equilibrium. 4. To break the Authority Circle, we must act non-rationally, and perhaps trust authorities we have reason not to trust, which means we must make ourselves vulnerable. To elaborate, the non-rational is distinct from irrational. It is an action that transcends the simple binary of rational versus irrational and cannot be understood as simply one or the other. If the majority cannot handle non-rational vulnerability, democracies could be in trouble. 5. Small and near systems are easier to non-rationally trust than large and distinct systems. Trusting the U.S. federal government, which controls the military, exists hundreds of miles away and is shrouded in bureaucracy, is much more difficult than trusting government entities I can visit, personally meet, and the like. Similar logic applies to scientific institutions, colleges, and so on. This is not to say large and distinct systems have no role and shouldn't exist, but it is to say that the authority circle will prove harder to penetrate. Do note that ruling powers could use the fact that we must non-rationally trust them to their advantage and to manipulate us, a possibility which makes it even more rational not to trust them, as we easily must. For further elaboration, if what does religion have to do with game theory by O.G. Rose is correct, that religions have helped society engage in non-rational action without which society would collapse, perhaps it is not by chance, then, that the church and the state have often worked together. Religions have perhaps helped people trust in a state which people have reason not to trust by framing the state as doing God's work, as expressing God's will, and so on. Perhaps religions have proven pivotal in helping societies manage the authority circle. Also note that perhaps we have hoped that autonomous rationality could fill this hole left by the decline of religion, but autonomous rationality is impossible, as discussed throughout O.G. Rose. For further elaboration, if large and distant systems are necessary, then it will likely prove necessary that we learn to live with the dilemma of the authority circle, which is existentially unsettling. 6. Considering globalization and pluralism, small and near systems are likely no longer possible as they once were, at least not without devastating results. Consider the rationality of invincibility and self-destruction by O.G. Rose. 7. We must learn to non-rationally trust systems, which might be too existentially unnerving for the majority to handle, and for good reason, do note, given legacies of manipulation. However, when there wasn't reason to question authority thanks to sociological givens or institutional legitimacy, people did not so much constantly extend trust to institution systems and so on, but rather just trusted in living, thoughtlessly, quote-unquote, which is much less existentially difficult, though a state at risk of manipulation. 8. As sociological givens collapse and we gain reason to question authority, the problem of the authority circle will become vivid to increasingly more people, causing anxiety and opposition. To elaborate, if the majority cannot handle this dilemma of the authority circle today, the majority will likely vote rationally against authorities which are necessary for informed action, and yet authorities may indeed take advantage of people. 10. Democracies will probably consume themselves. It doesn't follow that, therefore, totalitarian and overly centralized systems aren't worse, though, keep in mind. And as a final elaboration, perhaps the authority circle is a reason history repeats. Perhaps the only way to fix the problem is with war, to clean the slate in line with the thinking of Olson and the rise and decline of nations. Hard to say. For more by O.G. Rose, please visit ogrose.com, Twitter, Anchor, Instagram for the Belonging Again playlist. Please see YouTube, and the list of the articles can be found on Medium. And thank you so much for your time.